All right, can we talk about the median now, the beautification of Route 60 and the lovely flowers that I notice as I'm cruising up and down town? Who's responsible for that, Doctor?
The project came about somewhat at the request of West Side residents, Academy Woods, Conway Farms, people out that way. And this occurred about the same time that we were having the BMW championships. Route 60 heading toward Matawa or Metawa, still not sure which is correct.
Depends on how long you lived here.
Don't worry, Erlacher don't care.
Yeah. Anyway, there was a rather large median strip that is, of course, it's in the middle of a state highway, so it's owned by the state of Illinois, that really wasn't very well maintained, and it was a bit of an eyesore. And so the communities out that way, including Conway Farms, who wanted a better experience for people coming to the golf tournament, thought it would be nice if we could landscape this. And of course, if you drive through Lincolnshire and some other communities, there are many examples of medians that have had some rather elaborate landscaping done. So this was presented to the city council, and Chuck Myers, I think, was the staff member who was putting this forward at the time. And the original proposal for it was to plant some trees and plant some grass and do some things. But it wasn't a very evolved plan. When this was presented to city council, there was a fair amount of support for doing it. The problem was that the plan that was put forward wasn't terribly well thought out. And if you've ever planted things in your own yard, you understand that if you don't actually spend the time and the energy preparing things, your failure rate can be quite high. And that's exactly what happened. You know, we moved forward with this project. The council approved it. And the first iteration was a dramatic failure. I mean, within a year, everything was dying and it was a mess. And so then this came back, said, well, now we really have a problem because it looked bad before. Now it's full of dead trees that we planted. Now we've got to do something else. And the design got a little more evolved, but not enough for the site. In other words, this is a median strip in the middle of a state highway. The subsurface, you have to imagine what's in there. I mean, there's probably rocks and pop bottles and all kinds of stuff, not exactly the stuff that oak trees love. We had a second go around at this, and that was also a failure of sorts. And so it came back. And now we'd already spent several $100,000 doing this, beautifying a median that we didn't own, okay? And there was a lot of reason to question this project going forward, to say, hey, are we going to do this again? And if we are we going to put the energy into it that's required to make the end result good? We had a fairly spirited discussion at city council about this. If you go back, it's actually, some of it's kind of funny in a positive way. And this was something that I took on sort of as a project. I did not want to see this thing fail again. So I really pressured, Chuck into getting a plan that was going to work. And they did. To the city staff's credit, they went out and this became a very significant landscaping project. They got the industrial park to allow their retention ponds to be used as a water source for irrigation. They dug out all of the subsurface and put proper material in, and then they redeveloped it. And what you see now, several years later, is actually quite beautiful and attractive, as people like to call it, a gateway to the city. So the end result was very positive, I think. Certainly positive for the state of Illinois because they got a beautiful median that we paid for. But for the west side residents of Lake Forest, as you drive in, it is really a nice welcome to Lake Forest. And it's the kind of thing that we can do when city government works well. I just wish that we had done it correctly the first time, that it didn't take us 3 go-rounds to get it right.
Skoo, were you around for that? Did you?
Oh yeah, and it's, I remember the discussions, and it was, like Randy was saying, kind of centered around the BMW. And they're coming in off the tollway, and it's not really a great visual coming in, and then you got all the businesses in Conway Park and all that. So I think it was, the Band-Aid was for the tournament, and then the maintenance of it kind of disappeared after the tournament. But I remember the discussions, listening to some of the council meetings, and it was, this is one of our gateways to the community. And do you want it to look nice, or do you want it, to
was it one of those things that you were talking about where, people would beef about it, but then once it's finally in, oh, that looks really nice.
Again, Randy pushing that through shows you some of the leadership